And welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Overtime. If you're a new member, thank you for coming here. Thank you for being part of the Overtime family. We do some serious topics, we do some silly topics, but today we do have a legitimate topic that has to be addressed. Jason Lloyd wrote an article on Monday, more of a column than an article because it was all opinion. It was not factually based, or it was Jason's column.
Yeah. His
thoughts on Deshaun Watson and some of the comments that Deshaun made at his press availability from the Greenbrier, and we have discussed it on UCSS at length over the last 3 days, but Jason was in New Jersey on vacation, was unable to participate in said conversations until now, Jason. So what has the reaction been to your article, and do you feel like the reaction has changed any of your thoughts on what you wrote?
No, I stand on every word I wrote. It's 100% true and factual. Like I don't know what there is to really argue. Now, I guess, like, to back up a minute, when I'm by no means a Deshaun hater. I know that's like the favorite thing people say is he's just hating on Deshaun. He hates Deshaun. He's never been on Deshaun's side. Well, you're showing your ass when people say stuff like that, because I was having conversations with members of the Browns at the Combine in 2021 about, hey, Baker's not good enough. You need to you should look at this guy. Now, obviously, more information has come out since then in that initial conversation, but I was very much in you got to kick the tires on that. You got to take a look because what you have isn't good enough. And then they make the trade for Deshaun. And I'm the one that wrote the article, a 2,000-word article on how this all came together and how the Browns landed Deshaun. And I talked to people within the inner circle of Deshaun's camp, spent an hour on the phone getting their side of everything, and agreed with a lot of the points that were made in the whole thing. When I was filling in on the afternoon drive show on 92.3, we had Tony Busby on, and I challenged anyone to find somebody who went at Busby harder than I did that day on the air. And it was all just an effort of let's just have an honest conversation and let's try and get to truth. We had Rusty Harden on one day, we had Tony Busby on the next. And I obtained some of the court testimony from some of the victims, from Deshaun's alleged victims, and was pressing Busby on it. So to think that I have some vendetta against Deshaun is silly. And I've had multiple conversations with him and at his locker, on the road in NFL stadiums. When he first came here, introduced myself and said, looking forward to working with you and getting to know you and trying to build a relationship here. And he said, yeah, looking forward to it. So I was all for giving him every chance, and still am, by the way. I still am. It's one article. It's one article, guys. And the whole reason I wrote it is because we're down at the Greenbrier, and he starts talking about people are questioning my character, and people aren't going to like me. And I'm like, what world am I standing in right now? You really are shocked that people are questioning your character? And you're shocked that people may not like you when more than 24 women accused you of this stuff? And it's not just the 24 women that accused him. It's the 60 plus that the New York Times found that massaged him over 17 months. That's normal? We're going to act like that's normal behavior? It's clearly not. And the NFL, and for the people who want to hide behind, he was never indicted. You're right. He was never indicted. Doesn't mean he didn't do anything wrong. And when the NFL, when Sue Robinson rules that the 4 cases she was given cleared the NFL's burden of proof that he committed sexual assault, you can't cling to one and run from the other. Both of those things are true. Clearly something went on here. And I don't necessarily want to relitigate this whole thing 2 years later. He's the one that went there. The questions were just mundane, simple, typical training camp questions. He's the one that took it to his character and people not liking him. It's listen, Deshaun, you won. You got to keep your career, and you got a new contract out of it, a massive, most guaranteed contract for the position, for the history. But that doesn't mean that everyone is going to automatically love and respect you. That's not part of the deal. This is a business arrangement. This is a business relationship. And you were brought here as a mercenary to do a job, and he hadn't done that job, and a lot of that's out of his control because he's been hurt, and you can't control that part. But it's getting to the point where it's time for him to produce on the field, and that's how he'll be judged. And if he goes out there and throws for 300 yards, I'll write that he had a great game. And I'm sure people are going to say, oh, keep that same energy of when you were hating on him. It's I am keeping that same energy. I'm being real, and I'm being fair. Rip them when they deserve it. Praise them when they deserve it. That's what I'm supposed to do. And you're right, it was a column. And the one thing I wish we could do at The Athletic is separate opinion pieces more from factual pieces. My job, maybe people don't know this, my job at The Athletic is to give you my opinion. I know that sounds insane. I tell my kids all the time, can you believe people pay me just to tell them what I think about sports? That is the job. There are like 7 of us in the company. Pull back the curtain for a second. There are 7 of us, maybe 6 now in the company in different cities whose role is to be an opinion columnist, to tell you what they think about certain things. We've got one in Chicago. We had one in Atlanta. We don't anymore. We have one in Nashville. There's me. There's one in Boston. And there's a couple in more, Ken Rosenthal's another one who's sort of a newsbreaker / columnist on the baseball side. But we have these people who that is their job, to write opinion type pieces. And that's what that was. And I've tried to be fair with Deshaun. I think I have been fair with him. And I just laid out all the instances where I was on his side, and people didn't have a problem with that. People loved it when I was going after Busby. They thought that was great. Well, guess what? Sometimes you got to go the other way too. And I'm happy to take any questions. Tell me what I said that's wrong or that's unfair.
Earl, does anyone in the chat have comments, questions? Because I think that's actually a better place to start than Tyvis and I, who have already kind of gone, not to say back and forth, but have discussed at length not only the article but Deshaun over the last 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, if I honestly, I had no idea this has been a topic for 3 days. But if things, it doesn't have to be in the chat. If it is in the chat right now, great. But if you guys have seen stuff over the last couple of days that members or subscribe or whoever in the chat was upset with, tell me. We'll talk about it.
I mean,
I told people, because, I responded on air, and me and Jason actually text back and forth, and we had a conversation about it. And, Jason, you are the type of person, like, you can stand on whatever you say. So I guess my question to you after hearing you, respond to it, what do you think that interaction is going to be like this upcoming season between you and Deshaun Watson?
I have no idea. Like, I told, because, of course, I heard from the Browns after that. And the timing of it was not great. Normally, like, the rule of journalism is you show up the next day. When you write something like that, you show up. And I'm always there. They know where I am. I don't run from anyone in this town. They all know. They all have my number. They all know how to get a hold of me. They all know how to find me. And I did hear from the Browns. And the look wasn't good because, like I said, we were leaving on this family vacation. So he talks on Friday. The story doesn't run until Monday because nobody reads over the weekend. So they held the story until Monday. It runs on Monday. And by that time,
and I can confirm, by the way, just to back up, Jason had texted us saying, I'm writing a column. Like, you had told us on Friday, hey, I'm doing this, I'm submitting it, and I don't think you have any say over when stuff actually gets published, correct?
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Okay.
But in this instance,
I just want to confirm for the people out there, Jason did, and Earl, you're on the group chat, like, you made it pretty clear this was coming. We weren't shocked when the article dropped.
And I told the Browns, I was like, I'll be standing in his locker, look him in the eye. He can say whatever he wants. And it's not for another story. And I tell all the people in town, I tell all the team executives in town, like, if you've got an issue with something I wrote, you can call me and mother F me up one side and down the other. And some of them in town have taken full advantage of that.
I have heard.
But I don't ever write about it. Like, you don't write about it. Like, it's just, for the platform that we have, and I understand the responsibility that comes with it, we have to give them an outlet to come back at us.
Yeah.
So I'll stand in front of anybody. You could say anything you want to me, and we'll talk it out, and you can hate me at the end, but I will give you every chance to say whatever you want to say, and I'm never going to write about it. Like, that's man to man, or you and me. We're going to have it out. So I'll stand in his locker. Like, what's he going to do?
See this right here? That's why I'm not a media member. This is exactly why.
But I will not
ever be classified as a media member.
I would be glad to have a conversation with him. He could say whatever he wants. Now, I heard from someone from the Browns say he's got nothing to say. And actually, that's what happens more than not. See, that's the one thing that sort of grates on me is everyone says, like, well, you would never say it to his face. I'm like, yeah, actually, I would. And you know what they say? Nothing. Like, what are they going to say? Are they going to knock me out? Like, I'm sure probably sometimes
depending on who you talking to.
The conversations, I'm going to go back to my old life because that's the life for 10 years covering the NBA. You know how many times LeBron and I got into it and never wrote about it? And, like, man to man, eye to eye, I would tell him you didn't play hard enough. Like, we had a conversation. I told him you didn't play hard enough. Like, were you pouting? And he'd get mad. He wouldn't talk to me for 2 weeks. And then he'd get over it, and we'd be fine, and we'd move on. So how Deshaun responds to this, hey, man, all I did was hold up a mirror. That's it. And if he doesn't want to talk to me for the rest of the year, that's fine. I can still do my job. I don't have to interact with him. And again, I have defended him multiple steps of the way. And if he wants to take one conversation and say, I'm never talking to you again, cool. I knew that was the stakes when I wrote it. I'm not going to not write it. Like, that's insane to me.
Have you heard from other sources that you have with the Browns about said article?
No, I have not.
You know what he gonna do? He gonna Patrick Beverly you. He gonna see you in the locker room, and you gonna try to ask him a question. He gonna say, "Are you subscribed to my podcast?"
And you know what? He has every right to do that.
That's fine.
He has every right to do that.
If he doesn't want to answer questions from me, that's perfectly, I'm not going to get upset about that. That's perfectly fine. I can still do my job, whether I have a relationship with him or not.
If you wrote a bad article about me, Jason, I wouldn't be mad at you. I look at you funny. I would. I give you the look like, look at this dude.
Yeah,
but then I'd get over it.
There's an inherent, way media works that people outside of it, I don't think will ever understand.
Facts.
And I'm not saying it's some exclusive club, or I'm not saying it's just you kind of learn. And if you talk about what Becker said, I'll bring that up in one sec. But there is a certain way to go about things. And Jason, in this instance, you went about it in the right ways. And people are going to disagree with stuff you write all the time.
Yeah. I don't care.
Your job, our job here is to, if someone doesn't play well, explain why. Yeah,
that's all I do. I think that as an athlete, like I say, nobody wants to read that they're bad or something like that. But at the end of the day, it is a self-reflection of, okay, just because I think this doesn't mean that everybody else think this. So it brings some awareness to the situation of things that you can do better, from an outside standpoint. Because, like I said, now everybody's like, you're not supposed to be reading these comments and all of these things, but you just can't help it in today's society. If you're on social media, you're going to see it. And the thing is, he's going to read your article. He's going to feel attacked. He's going to feel hurt. Who is this guy to think to say that about me?
Yep.
But he also going to read some of them comments. There's going to be a lot of people that agree with what he says, and he's going to think to himself, dang, maybe that, I never thought about it like that. Maybe that is something that I need to work on and stuff like that, and it's ultimately going to make him better. Listen, if you're doing everything great, then there's no article to ever write. Everybody's going to write articles praising you, but it's going to be somebody that's going to give you some constructive criticism, and it's about you taking that and using it better. Did I play well all the time? No. But when somebody told me I was terrible and all those things, you know what I did? It motivated me to go out there the next week and do better.
You know what I like? For people who say he's just a hater, he's just hating on the Browns. If that's the best criticism you can come up with,
well, you're not a hater.
That tells me I'm right. Tell me where I was wrong. Tell me where I was wrong. Tell me what I wrote is wrong.
Yeah.
No one has come up with anything of what I wrote. Not even with the Browns. No one with the Browns has told me what was wrong. Where is the error in there?
Last thing, and I know we'll wrap here, but did you guys see what happened with Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee?
Yeah, I did see that.
Where he approached someone live on the radio and said he was talking a lot of crap and called him a social media P word that I'm not going to say on.
God. Is it a video?
It is a video.
Yeah.
So, man.
So it is, there are different ways that athletes handle certain situations like this. Jeffrey Simmons clearly took issue with whatever that guy had said, and it seems like it had crossed from a professional criticism to a personal criticism. And I fully admit I have no idea what he said, tweeted, or whatnot. I don't foresee any scenario where Deshaun comes at you in that regard.
But and there's also a difference. There's also a difference in, be careful how I say, in radio people who are never in the building, which there's quite a few. There's in every city.
Yeah.
There are radio personalities who have their own shows who talk about this.
Who never have to go in the locker room.
Who never have to go in the locker room. I am always in the locker room. Every single week, I'm in the locker room. Every week. Maybe not every day, but every week. Wednesday quarterback availabilities, I'm almost always there. Friday, sometimes after the show, I'll shoot down at least 1 to 2 days a week. Post-game, I'm at every game. I am always in the locker room. And this goes back to, Kyrie and I got into it. I would write things about him that he hated. And I would tell him, I'm right here. Like, let's talk about it. If you don't like it, tell me I'm right here. And say, no, I'm good. So
Let me say this. Because me and Jason talk about these things a lot. I can't recall a time to where Jason has called him a clown, a creep.
never once.
Or anything like that. So when you talk about, towing a line or making sure you keep everything in good taste, I don't think Jason is that type of person who gets disrespectful. And so when you see some of these athletes and you hear me and others talk about, making sure you can stand on what you say, that's what I'm talking about. Because, Jason, we both know there are people or sports media personalities in this cities who have used those words and been around him and acting like they didn't say what they said.
Right.
And I think when you see that energy from him, those are the people that he has that type of energy towards.
And like, if you're going to say it, show up the next day. Show up and take your medicine the next day. And that's the whole thing. And unfortunately, in this instance, no, I haven't seen him yet, just because of the timing of how everything broke and I had to leave and everything else. But he and I will have our day. And I'll stand there and he can say whatever he wants to me.
You'll see him after the preseason game?
Do
you do locker room after the preseason?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in the locker room plenty. And I will give him.
You need me to go with you?
I will. No. Whose side would you be on? You'd be holding me.
Is he the player or the media in that instance?
Yeah, he'd be holding me.
He'd have you on a full Nelson.
Yeah,
Deshaun tee off.
Come on, man. Get your best shot in. I hate him too. Can't stand this guy.
All right, well, that's the perfect place to wrap. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Peace.